New book has lifted the lid on abalone poaching. Poacher, Confessions from the Abalone Underworld is the true story of a self-confessed abalone poacher, Shuhood Abader. Now, he began writing his life story after being jailed for poaching. Abader wrote the book together with journalist and expert on the illicit abalone trade. That's Kimon de Greef. Abalone, otherwise known as perlemoen, is a sought-after delicacy in China and is in danger of extinction due to poaching. Well, Kimon joins us now from Cape Town. Kimon, good morning, and thanks for your time this morning. Tell us a little bit about what led to sort of a book of this nature. Why would Shuhood want to tell us his story?
Well, originally Shuhood started writing this book about a decade ago, and quite frankly, he thought that it would be a means to an end. He thought that he'd make a lot of money from a book and retire. He learned, as I did later, that there's not very much money in books. But I think there was a second benefit to him, which was having a role in telling a story that hasn't really been told before. He's unfortunately not in studio today, but I know that he's proud to have done that.
Now, we understand that we couldn't have interviewed him today because his identity cannot be revealed. So what does this mean? I mean, it sounds like he served his time, but
right.
Is it because he has identified certain people in the book? Is his life in danger because he's written this book?
No, that's a good question, but this book isn't really an expose of the trade as such. There's nothing in the book that the cops don't know about, for instance. What we've set out to do instead is to do a documentary project, essentially. This is a work of biography, just saying what life is like inside this black market that people hear about all the time. It's in the news all the time, but the kind of inside stories are never told. So his life isn't in danger. At the same time, he's just unwilling to come forward just yet with his identity for reasons that can't really be revealed right now. But there's a fear that some people may think that he's kind of pimped out operations that he hasn't just yet, and because it's such a delicate kind of subject matter, we're just proceeding cautiously for now.
So tell us about this book itself, Kimon. I mean, tell us, what about the underworld of abalone poaching would surprise us or interest us, that you know, something we might not have known? Because we often ask that question when we sit as a team and discuss whether we should do interviews on abalone. We wonder, what is the big deal about abalone? What is it? Rhino, we understand, but abalone, you know, what makes it such a sought-after thing?
Right. Well, it's a very revealing story about South Africa, life in South Africa today, how we've come to be here and where we are now. Abalone is a marine snail. It's about the size of a baseball mitt when it's fully grown, which takes about 30 to 35 years. It's extremely valuable in China, and in the last 25 years we've evolved this massive illicit trade where the high value of this marine resource has plugged into South Africa's extreme income inequality, and marginalized fishing communities have become kind of labor pools getting the shellfish out. So telling some of that story is important, and the full story often gets missed when we reduce it to news sound bites about busts and so on. The other part of the story that doesn't get told is just the human drama of it. So these are divers often working at night in freezing cold waters with faulty equipment, searching around underwater for this mollusk and getting chased by the police, seeing sharks underwater. There's a whole rich narrative that doesn't really get explored, and that's really what we've tried to do with the book, is to humanize this, to not condone it or to judge against it, but just to place it on the table and say, this is what's happening, and this is, we think, how and why.
Well, tell us a little bit about what Shuhood, I mean, you say yes, that there are other things in the pipeline. You want to document exactly what this was about. So is he now active in the fight against abalone poaching? Is he part of like awareness campaigns? What's his role writing this book and since writing this book?
Right. So he's certainly not an anti-poaching campaigner at all. If anything, Shuhood may get back into the water if his circumstances require him to. He's not sugar-coated this, but what he's trying to do now is to help shift the conversation around poaching to be a little more holistic and a little bit more nuanced. So day to day, he's working with horses, training horses, and he's got a big love of horses. It's part of the book, but he's a former criminal with a criminal record and a family to support. So there's no way of knowing kind of where he's going to go with this. But right now he's promoting the book. When we're not on camera, then he's with me, and I think we're both sort of working out what comes next. But hopefully, shifting a little bit of our national conversation around some of these issues is what we're both hoping to achieve here.
Thanks very much for your time there. That's author, freelance journalist Kimon de Greef.